back to Crafting with Confidence. I'm Joanne, and every couple of weeks I like to share a fun crafting project with you. Usually that's quilting or sewing or knitting or crocheting, but today I'm going to put my yarn and needles aside and I'm going to share with you how to make some delicious bread. And if you're excited to learn my secret recipe and technique for this homemade bread, please remember to press like and to subscribe to my channel. This way you'll never miss out on what's coming next. Many years ago, my husband and I bought our first bread maker. We tried all sorts of different flours and recipes, baking them in this handy machine. Then one day I accidentally put the bread on a dough cycle instead of a bake cycle. So I kneaded the dough on the counter, formed it into buns, or rolls as our American friends usually say, and the results turned out to be a favorite for all my friends and family members. No matter where I am, whether that's snowshoeing with my friends, hanging out at the lake with my husband, or having lunch at work, I always bring along a homemade bun. This moist and chewy bread is great for any meal of the day. The key to good bread is good ingredients, so I like to grind my own wheat with this electric wheat grinder, turning wheat berries like this into fresh whole wheat flour like this. It's not essential to grind your own wheat, but it does lead to a healthier and more nutritious bread. This is my well-loved and well-used Philips bread maker. I've had it for about 20 years now and it's still going strong. In a minute, I'll be showing you the ingredients that I'll be placing in the loaf pan. Here are all of them laid out and ready to go. I just want to point out that in my large measuring cup holding the 4½ cups of flour I'll be adding, I have included ½ a cup of 7-grain flour purchased at the store at the bottom, about 3 cups of my freshly ground wheat flour, and 1½ cups of regular white flour. I like to pour my ingredients into the pan in a certain order. First, it's 2 cups of water. Then I pour in the 4½ cups of flour. Three and a half tablespoons of white sugar. 3½ tablespoons of powdered milk. 2½ teaspoons of salt. 1/2 a cup of raw pumpkin seeds. 1/2 a cup of raw sunflower seeds. 5 globs of butter, so about ½ a tablespoon each, which makes about 2½ tablespoons of butter in total. And finally, 3 teaspoons of bread machine yeast. Now I'm ready to place my pan in the bread maker and to set it to a dough cycle, which is 1 hour and 10 minutes on my machine. For the first few minutes of the mixing part of this cycle, I like to keep an eye on things in case I need to scrape the edge with a knife or add a bit more flour. You want the dough to be bouncy looking like this, with no wet bits of flour stuck to the sides. When the mixing stops, I'll then have about an hour to do some other things, like catching up on some quilting ideas or working on that knitted baby blanket for a colleague of mine. When the bread machine dough cycle is finished, I dump the dough onto a floured surface and I knead it several times. I then cut the dough into halves and then quarters. I'll cut each quarter into 3 pieces, ending up with 12 buns. The next step is to roll out each bun and place it on a greased baking sheet. I happen to use 2 pizza pans and place 6 buns on each pan, nicely spaced apart. And here are my 2 sets of buns ready for a second rise. I shall cover them with tea towels and will go do some other things for about an hour and a half or so. After the second rise, the buns have grown quite a bit. I've preheated my oven to 375 degrees and will bake one batch at a time for 15 minutes each. Here are the dozen baked buns, a light golden on the top and golden brown on the bottom. One of my son's favorite comfort foods when he was growing up was to take a fresh bun, still warm out of the oven, and butter it so it melts in. And then he would sprinkle it with these chocolate sprinkles. That's what I grew up with as well. This is called hagelslag in Holland, and it's delicious. Guess what I'm having for dessert tonight? If you'd like the recipe for this delicious bread, just check out the link below. And please join me in a couple of weeks for another project on crafting with confidence.